It displays Thomas's doubts. It delves into Peter's pride. It shows the greed of Judas. And even pulls the curtain back on James and John's material ambition. It also records the times that they sang together, preached together, healed the sick together, wept and prayed together. God used these 3 years in all of human history to show us what it means to follow Him. Most of us know who the betrayer is, and we'll see that he may have his self-justifications. But I want to focus on the other 11. They build a relationship with each other, but mostly with Jesus Christ, forged through good times and bad. They were committed to Jesus for the rest of their lives. The rest of their lives. But there is one, the one that will betray Jesus with a kiss.
I am Thomas, the twin, or Didymus, which means twin. You know me as Doubting Thomas. Even though I was a man of wavering faith, my devotion to Jesus was very sincere. Like him, I was a carpenter, and I felt closer to Jesus because of my work. I'm a realist, and it confused and discouraged me to see the criticism about Jesus growing. I remember when Mary and Martha sent word to Jesus that their brother Lazarus had died, and how he turned to us and said, "Let us go, that we may see him." We knew the opposition was growing. Many of the others did not want to go with him to Bethany. They shrank in the unseen danger. I recall how I rebuked them, saying, "Let us go with him, that we may die with him also." And he raised Lazarus from the dead on that trip. And the opposition was growing immeasurably. His enemies seek to destroy him. Why? Because the God he reveals is stronger than the heady, man-made deities that they've enshrined on their altars. He would have us to be God's servant. They would have God to be their servant. And now he says that even among us, the chosen 12, there is a traitor. Was he speaking of me? Was he referring to me? Is it I? Is it I?
Everyone else comes from Galilee. My home is in the village of Iscariot in Judea. So I'm known as son of Iscariot, or Judas Iscariot, the only Judean in the group. The others asked me to handle the money. And Jesus must have believed in me because he chose me as one of the 12. Despite what they say behind my back about my impatience, my stinginess, my ambition, Jesus believed in me. If he hadn't, he would have chosen someone else in my place. They say that I've taken these funds for my own use. They say that Jesus' words about the love of money and greed were directed at me. Of course I complained when Mary anointed his head with that expensive ointment and perfume. What a waste. This time, I'm taking matters into my own hands. I've conspired with the chief priest for 30 pieces of silver to turn Jesus over to them. Someone had to force the issue. Someone had to force the issue and make him a certain selfless God's Messiah. He wouldn't do anything. He wouldn't make a move. Well, I've made one. He hints that he knows what I've done. He said so a few moments ago when he washed my feet and when he dipped that bread in the dish and he handed it to me. But I have my reasons. My soul is not as black as some think it is, nor is your soul as white. What would you do if you were in my place and you wanted Jesus to do something startling and dramatic to bring in his kingdom? What would you do? Should I ignore his remarks? Or like the rest, piously, self-righteously say to myself, is it I? Is it I?
I am Simon the Zealot. Before Jesus called me, I belonged to the group of hot-headed, bloodthirsty revolutionaries known as the Zealots. We were all for armed rebellion against Rome. I hated Rome for enslaving my country and God for turning his back on us. My Jewish brothers seemed not to care that they were slaves in their own kingdom. But one day, while I was by the Sea of Tiberias, I met Jesus of Nazareth. He told me of another kind of kingdom, kingdom of the human heart, where God reigns supreme. Since I've heard him, I've changed my mind and my allegiance. He showed me the conqueror of the human heart is the only true, lasting, and sincere conqueror. So I've given him my highest loyalty and my deepest devotion. In military language, I have completely and unconditionally surrendered myself to him, to think his thoughts, to love as he loves and who he loves, to obey as he obeys, and to serve as he serves. This surrender has not imprisoned me. Rather, for the first time in my life, I am free. I'm afraid of Rome no longer. I only love her people and want to tell them about Jesus, the master and healer of the world. Now the master says there is a spiritual Roman among us, one who would attempt by force that which can only be accomplished by love. Who could it be? Is it Matthew the publican? Is it the big fisherman or his brother? Or does he suspect me, since I'm the only zealot among us? Is it I, Lord? Is it I?